I wanted to explain to you the cutting for the accent strips and the sashing. And I thought it would be easier if I showed you what you're going to end up with so you can see where you're going. These are the accent strips. Now, the cover picture is black, and they used black fabric. I'm using this red fabric for my accent. And these are the pieces that will be used in the piecing, the paper piecing. And there are 5 different sizes. And if you're doing the 3x3 layout, you'll end up with 36 of each one. If you're doing the 3x4 layout, you'll end up with 48 of each one. And these are taken from, if we look at on page 3 and page 4, page 3 is for the 3x3 layout. And I'm going to show you where these accent pieces came from first. On page 3, and both of the diagrams are the same. The only thing difference is there's a few extra ones and it's longer for the 3x4 layout. But the accent pieces came from this first section here, this darker shaded section. And I'm going to put these over it so you can see. This one is cut 22.5 inches times the length of the fabric. For the 3x3 layout, this is 3 yards. For the 3x4, it's 4 yards. So that's where the accent fabrics come from. The next thing is the sashing fabrics, and it's this little 6-inch piece that's next, and it's cut into little smaller pieces. Then the last part you reserve is for the binding. So let's look at how these are cut. In your instructions in the lesson, I've divided this out into step-by-step process, and you can look at this diagram as you go, and you can also download the steps that I wrote so you can have them when you're cutting. So if you use the diagram and the step-by-step instructions, I think it will be a lot clearer for you. The first thing you're going to do is take your length of fabric, no matter which, if it's the 3 yards or the 4 yards, and be sure you have at least 38 inches. I think it's 38. Let's count again. It's 22.5 plus 6 is 28.5 plus 10 is 38.5. So be sure between your selvages you have usable 38.5 inches. And you'll start here on the selvage on this side and cut that selvage off. Then the next thing you'll do is cut this 22.5 inch strip. So it'll be 22.5 inch times 3 yards for the 3x3 and 4 yards for the 3x4. The next thing you do is cut off a 6-inch wide piece of fabric times the length of fabric. The remaining part save for your binding. So we're only going to concentrate now on these 2 pieces, the 22.5 and the 6-inch piece. So to find out how we get these pieces, these 5 different pieces, we look at the diagram again. Now I'm going to cover up everything except the 22.5 inch piece. And you'll see in here it's cut into sections here, and this is the largest one, then it gets smaller and smaller. So here are your 5. Here are your 5 different pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is 14 inches, this is 11.5, 9.5, 7, and 5. So we're going to take this long piece of fabric and we're going to subcut it into those pieces. And it's repeated again down here. There's another 14 inch, 11.5, 9.5, 7, and 5 inches. This is for the 3x3. We need 2 sets. And once we cut these, this piece here is 14 inches times 22.5 inches. And so is this piece here. So we're going to cut these pieces and stack the 2 together. Then we're going to subcut them into these 18 different pieces here that are all shown in this drawing. And all of these are cut 18 pieces for all of these. And this is how you come up with your different sizes. The next section is the 6-inch section, and it's for the vertical and the horizontal sashing. We're going to cut off 3 pieces. For the 3x3, we're cutting 3 pieces. For the 3x4, we're cutting 4 pieces. But we're going to cut 3 at 6 inches times 16.5 inches. Then we're going to subcut those into 1.5 inch pieces. The remaining piece will be for the vertical sashing. This is the stack of the 6 inches by 16.5 inch pieces. These are subcut into 1.5 inches. Now these are what you'll use to sash the blocks when they're finished. For the 3x3, you'll have 12 of these, and for the 3x4, you'll cut 16, but you'll only use 15. So now you will cut your accent fabric and your sashing fabric. Look at these diagrams. If you're doing the 3x3, look at the page 3. If you're doing the 3x4, look at page 4. Look at the diagrams, download the printed paper I set up with all the cutting instructions. And if you have any problems, you can always email me.